Hi everybody, Joel Kennedy with Kennedy Violins. So how do you get an absolute top tier music teacher for your child? Now I've done videos before about how to get a good music teacher for your kid. In fact, there's a link below, you can check it out, it's a really good video. Today's video is a little bit different. It is how do you get the absolute best music teacher for your child. And this is the kind of teacher where basically they can get them through high school into the best conservatories if you wanted to. Well, there's a lot of strategies about how to do this, and frankly, people don't really talk about them. They kind of keep them a little bit of a secret, but I decided to kind of give you guys a little bit of an inside scoop today and let you know kind of what goes on behind the scenes. Okay, so this video is really only applicable to 4 kind of groups of people. Okay, so number 1, your kid hasn't started practicing an instrument at all, and they're probably 4 to 6 years old. Number 2, your kid has started a music instrument, but they haven't been playing for very long. 3, your kid has already started and they've got a really good teacher that kind of specializes in beginning students and how to get students from beginning to a really good level. Okay, and the 4th final group of people that this video is applicable for are tiger moms or dragon moms, moms or dads, right? So you're the kind of parent who you will do anything for your kid to be the best that they could possibly be at something like learning an instrument. So that means that you are completely comfortable with the idea that they're going to miss out on some childhood things, right? Because they're working hard, they're disciplined, they're sacrificing, so are you. And also you're willing to be uncomfortable. You're willing to put yourself in uncomfortable situations because you want the best for your kid. So I'm going to cover all those groups of people in one video today by giving you a roadmap. So today is a roadmap. You just follow this roadmap and chances are you're going to produce a kid who can be the best that they could possibly be at a musical instrument. And in case you want any background on me, I was a professional musician for years. I was also a teacher for many years. I taught beginning students as well as advanced students eventually. And I had a lot of advanced students and several of them went to, top conservatories and schools and whatnot. So I know what it takes. A lot of my professional friends, they had kids too, also went to the top conservatories. So I've seen the whole lifespan. I also personally have 2 very accomplished musician children, one of which you probably already know. Ellie, my younger one, she's a violinist. Okay, so with that, let's talk about the 4 things that you can do, the roadmap for your kid to get access to the absolute best teacher and to be the best they can possibly be on their instrument. So the first thing is that your child has to spend the majority of their beginning years with a really good teacher. How do you know they're a really good teacher? Well, just look at their track record. Chances are their students are high performers, right? So they're winning competitions, they have prestigious positions in orchestras, and the teacher has a really good reputation, and they're probably not cheap either. Number 2, make sure you keep a very high quality digital record of the best performances of your child, okay? So when they are playing something really well, that means recitals, that means auditions, competition tapes, whatever it is, make sure you get really good video, edit it if you have to, and make sure it's super high quality and it shows them in the best light. Okay, number 3, and this is a big one. This is where you actively find and get the highest quality teacher. So just to be clear, there's probably at least 2 teachers we're talking about. The first one is the really high quality teacher that started them, that takes them from beginning to maybe intermediate or advanced, okay? Probably advanced, okay? Then you need that final teacher, that best of the best, absolute best teacher who can take them past the finish line. They're the teacher who's gonna get them to the level that's so good that the Ivy League schools, they want them in their program. The best universities will give them scholarships just so they'll go. The top conservatories, we want them to go to their school to get a music degree, right? So that's the teacher that you want to get. So first of all, how do you know who these teachers are? Okay, so number 1, these teachers are going to have a huge track record, okay? They're going to have a track record of success. Their students are going to consistently place in the top of all of the competitions. So, and usually these competitions, the placement is usually pretty publicized, right? So you can not only see video, but usually the publications of who the winners were for a variety, all the instruments, goes back years oftentimes. So what are you looking for? What kind of competition? So if you are in a heavily populated, densely populated state like New York or California or something like that, there's competitions going on all the time. Now, if you live in a state that's less populated and has less competitions, less opportunity, then you're going to be looking at stuff like ASTA competitions, American String Teachers Association. They're usually pretty high on the list in terms of ability. You're going to be looking at state competitions, district competitions. So if you look at if you're from a very dense, lightly populated state, like let's say I don't know, Montana, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, you're not going to have as many opportunities, but you're still going to have state champions coming out of these states. Who's teaching these state champions? And you're probably going to see a consistency. So remember, you're looking for the best. Now, if you're in if you're in California, maybe it's not a state competition you're looking at because there's a lot more competitions. Maybe you're looking at the people who are winning the of course state competitions, but also the people who are winning their areas, because the areas are big, right? San Diego, San Francisco, LA, right? So there's a lot of it's a very highly competitive environment, and you're going to have a lot of great players. Well, if you go to the local competitions like in LA or Orange County or something, you're going, or Long Beach, you're going to see the same teachers pop up over and over again that have their students in the top tier. And you want to go back, let's say 3 or 4 years minimum. Go back 3 or 4 years minimum. You'll see a consistency. The other thing that you want to look at is the rosters for the local youth orchestra. Not just any youth orchestra, the big daddies, right? The big ones, the most prestigious youth orchestras in your area, the ones that are very selective, they're hard to get into. And you're not just looking for the teachers who teach kids that are in these youth orchestras. No, you want to find out who's teaching the principals, who's teaching the concert masters, who's the principal violist, who's the principal cellist, who's the concert master, the principal violinist, the first violinist, who's the principal oboist, whatever it is. You more than likely, if you look through the roster over 3 or 4 years, you're going to see the same couple names probably pop up over and over and over again of the teachers who are teaching these kids who are the best of this youth orchestra, which is already hard to get into, which already represents the elite for your area. So remember, we're looking for the best. So you want to have the kids who are winning the competitions, you want the kids who are in the top of the orchestras. And a lot of times it's going to be the same teachers. Usually a really good teacher, they're gonna show up in all of these different kinds of metrics that I'm giving you. Another metric that you can look at is, where are their students going after school? Okay, so you can usually find out, but that takes networking on your side. If you're going to youth orchestra concerts and you're talking to parents, you're in parent organizations, you're online organizations and stuff like that, you'll start to see, or the orchestra will have a news bulletin where they announce, oh, this kid won this and this kid went here to school, whatever. You will have access to the information if you live in that world, right? So you need to find out what teachers have kids that are going to top universities. Are there kids that are getting accepted into Stanford and Yale and Harvard and Princeton and Columbia and Indiana and Rice and Juilliard and Colburn and Curtis and Eastman and New England Conservatory, right? So all these top schools, you will see that there's these teachers that keep on popping up. Their students are going to these top schools. So that's another way that you can really identify the best teachers. Oh, and by the way, one thing that I should mention, generally your first teacher is probably going to be good till, let's say, 6th through 9th grade, something like that. At some point, you'll probably start figuring out that, maybe it's time to move on to that last teacher that's going to get him over the finish line, that's going to get him into that really good school, that's going to get him into the orchestra or win the competitions or whatever. So a lot of times there's, they'll be at a point where they're maybe, let's say, 10 years old to 13 or 14 years old, right? There's and everybody's different, but there's that like 10 to 13, 10 to 14 kind of strata where now you've got to start kind of looking around, finding that next teacher that can take them to the next level. Okay, so the last part of number 3 is that you have to shop around for these teachers. So now you've identified the teachers, right? So now you have to start digging and trying to find out, how can I contact them? How can I get their email address, their social media accounts, Facebook, LinkedIn, maybe they have a personal website, whatever it is. Utilize every resource at your disposal to communicate with them. Now, it's possible that their current teacher is such a great, wonderful teacher that they know that they can't take the kids, to the super advanced level and get them into the best schools and stuff. They know where they're really good. And so they will have they'll have the best intentions and have your child's best interests at heart. And then they will have a conversation with you. They will say, hey, look, I think it's time. I've loved, teaching your child, your great, wonderful family, but it's time to move on. Here's the teachers that I recommend. And then they'll provide that, they'll open the door for you to those teachers, okay? That's the best situation, and it does happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen nearly enough. A lot of these teachers who are really good at the beginning, but they're not good for the really advanced ones, they cling on to the kids, and they don't let them go. And they don't want to admit to themselves that sometimes kids need to move on. It's better for them. That happens more often than not, unfortunately. So you might have to make that decision. So this is the uncomfortable part. You're going to have to create a very uncomfortable situation, because you're going to have to make that judgment through all the research that you did. Okay, it's time to move on. It's going to be hard. Why? Because you will have formed a relationship with this teacher. Maybe you've gone to their house. Maybe you've gone out to dinner. Maybe you've gone to parties together. Maybe they know your kids. Maybe their spouse is friends with your spouse. And they've seen your child grow up. It's very difficult to have these conversations, but you have to. So you have to locate a teacher, kind of get your ducks in a row, prepare for that conversation, and then kind of ease into that conversation and do the best that you can. But it is something you have to pull that Band-Aid off, and that's just something that you just have to do in the best interest for your child. Okay, the fourth and final part of this plan to get the absolute best teacher for your kid, to take them across the finish line so they can be the best that they can be, right? One of the best, right? Top 5%, whatever, top 1% of the group of students that they're around, okay? Is now that you've identified who those teachers are, now you know how to communicate with them, now you do communicate with them. Now you have to approach them in a certain way where they will be open to the idea of meeting with you. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is they're programmed to basically say no. That's just the way they function. That's just the way it works most of the time. So if they're an in-demand teacher, they may not be very responsive with emails and things like that. They may not pick up the phone. They may not return your messages. They're used to you searching them out, and they're in high demand, and they know it. So you'll have to, once you make contact with them, you don't want to say, hey, I really want you to teach my kid. That's not going to work. They're going to say, oh, I'm sorry, I've got a waiting list. I'm really busy. I just don't really have room in my studio right now, but I can put you on the waiting list. Please give me your contact information, and then if a spot opens up, I'll call you. That's what you're probably going to get, okay? You'll get nowhere. So what you need to do is you need to contact them, and keep in mind, this is something you're doing without broadcasting it to everybody else, right? Right, it's kind of in secret. So you contact them and say, hey, my kid is, they really love their instrument, and I've seen that you're such a great, accomplished, and wonderful teacher. You have such a wonderful reputation. Is it possible, can we just meet briefly so my kid can play for you? I would love any direction and advice that you can give me for my kid. This is important. Remember, your goal is to just have a meeting with them. Any meeting. Just have, so your kid can play for them. It's not, oh, I want to audition you as a teacher, or you need to audition me to see if you'll teach my kid. No, it's just knowing what great reputation you have, you're simping hard. Knowing what great reputation you have, I would just love your advice on what my child's next step should do and everything else. Something along those lines. And then in that email, you put the best videos. Maybe pick one video or two at most of your child looking really, really, really good, right? They're playing something that's a little bit above their level. Now, if they're not above their level or playing particularly artistically, the teacher's probably not going to be interested. So your goal in the very beginning is to get your kid to be much better than the average kid and playing more difficult repertoire than the majority of all the other kids that there are their age. Then you have an awesome video of it. You put a link in there, like a YouTube link, right? So and that email is going to be short. It's going to be to the point. It's not this huge dramatic, email. It doesn't give you the whole. It doesn't have the novel of your life and your kid's life and all the things. No, they don't have time for that. It's just, hi, Mr. Da 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 da. I've heard great things about you. You have a great reputation. It would be just wonderful if we could just play for you so we could get your advice and direction. And then you put a couple links in there to the video. What the teacher's going to do is they're going to see that it's not a long email. They'll read it because it's not too much homework, right? Because musicians are kind of lazy, yeah, as a general rule. And then they're going to click on the link and they're going to watch the video. That's your hook. So once they see that video and they see, oh, hey, this kid's pretty good, they're going to want to teach the kid. Now, they're not going to tell you that. They're gonna email you back and say, sure, would this time work for you? Or I'd be glad to give you some direction. What time is good for you? Something like that, right? You've got to be extremely open. You've just got to. They say be here. You just they say jump. You ask how high, and then you go. Then you show up. Then your kid plays, right? And then they are going to graciously, in some way, if they want to teach your kid, they're going to say, maybe we could meet again, or I wouldn't mind, teaching your kid. In fact, I think a spot might be opening up, right? So they have a lot of ways of keeping face, I guess you could say, because they'll tell you that they're full, but then they'll make some excuse. It happens all the time. This is just the game. They'll make some excuse and they'll say, oh, I think a position is opening up, or such and such, my schedule's opening up because this person is graduating, whatever. They're going to make up some excuse, and then bam, you're in. All you want to do is you want to get that first meeting, then take whatever lesson time you get, even if it sucks. Because once you're in, you're in. Then you can just change the schedule later, right? And then boom, and that's how you do it. That's basically the 4-step process of getting the absolute best teachers that are ungettable in your area. So I hope this video was helpful. I know it was a video for probably a very small percentage of my audience as a general rule, but I thought it was a very helpful video, and it could be very, very, very beneficial to mothers and fathers who are trying to navigate their way through this universe of music that's often very murky and hard to understand. So if you have any other questions, please put them in the comments below, subscribe to the video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.